most of the time we have idealistic ideas of what we want, and a lot of times the things that we want rarely to never exist in the same person. So we want him to be extroverted but really sensitive. We want him to be practical but really romantic. And a lot of times those are not things that exist all in the same person. So most of us at some point when we're with the person that we might want to marry, there's going to be things that they don't have that we maybe thought we wanted. So we can start to get into this, well, is this the right person for me? And I think sometimes what we really need to do is look at character, look at the fruit of the person. So perhaps you're dating someone who isn't really vocal in their faith, or maybe isn't, I hear this all the time, isn't the spiritual leader that I'm looking for. And I want to say, okay, well, I'm not sure who you're modeling that off of. Most likely you have someone in your mind that you may know well, but you may not know well, that you're thinking this person should be like. So what would it be like to put that aside and look for what's the fruit in this person's life? What is the character of this man? In difficult times, what is their reaction? Do they have a temper? Are they one to shut you out? Or are they interested in pursuing unity with you when there is a struggle of some kind? How do they approach difficulties in life? What is their outlook and attitude towards things that are difficult? This is often where you really get into the heart of the matter, because people can be really good at talking and not good at living. You're looking for a man who's good at living and who can help you be a better person than not with him. Now, what's interesting about that for women is sometimes I'll be with a girl who's dating someone, and I'm thinking in my head, I don't tell her this, but I'm thinking, this is a good guy for you. But she's really struggling, because what a good guy for you looks like sometimes means that he stands up to you and he tells you when you're being silly, and he tries to draw things out of you that you're maybe not wanting to know about. And in reality, that in the long run is really good, and that's a good relationship. Sometimes good relationships are hard, but there's a difference between a good hard relationship and a toxic relationship, and it's important as adults to learn those differences, both for dating relationships but also for relationships in general. It's one thing to be with someone who you think, we can spur one another on, and if we work hard at it, if we continue to have the conversations, when we spend the time together and talk through things, we're both better for it. Now, is it the most pleasant? Is it not all the time? But when we do spend time together, it's better. So I'll ask a girl if they're struggling in a dating relationship, how much time are you spending together? Does it get better the more time you spend together, or worse? So sometimes it might be like, oh, actually, we don't do better when we're together. That's a sign that that's not headed in a good direction. But if you make the time, if you create the space, is he willing to have those conversations? And at the end of it, are you both working more towards unity than before? That may be hard, but it's also really good. That's different than a toxic relationship. A toxic relationship is two people who dig in, who feel like they have to defend their stance, who often feel like they're defending their own character with another person, or they're feeling deeply like the person does not respect their outlook at all. If that's what's happening in a dating relationship, that's going to be a little harder to overcome. You want that mutual respect and trust as a place to start. Does the person, this man that you're with, does he seem to look for the best in you? Most of the time. Now, let's be honest, we don't look for the best in others all of the time. So most of the time, does he seem to look for the best of you? Is he confident in you about things that maybe you're not confident about? Sometimes women will perceive that as he doesn't care. And I recently said to a friend, are you sure he doesn't care? Or do you think that he's actually just so confident in who you are that it may even sound a little bit like matter of fact to you? Because he's actually so confident that you can do that he's like, well, of course you're going to do that. And she was like, oh, maybe. I'm like, yeah, he probably is, And so those are some of the qualities, I think, that in the relationship you're in, if you're not in a relationship right now, I would caution you to know that some of these things you can't find out until you actually start to date someone. You have to date them. So maybe withhold some of those thoughts. You don't have to have your checklist out on the first date. You wouldn't want someone judging you after an hour with you. And so maybe you want to do the same thing for that person. Give it a date or 2 or 3 or 5. You don't have to make it super intense, but you got to spend time with someone to start to see what their true character is. Look at what relationships they have. I often want to know if people are in relationships. Like, It doesn't have to be a lot of friendships. A lot of guys aren't in tons of friendships, but do they have people around them? Do they pursue community at all? Are they interested in intentional living? Those are some of the things that you can find out in an early season of dating.